Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things I've learned as I've gone on. And people always ask me for relationship advice, and so since I'm wearing this red shirt for another video, I thought I would tell a relationship story that at the time wasn't funny, but it kind of turned into something very bittersweet and just very romantic, and it was nice. And I was just talking about this on my vlog, I don't know, like a week or two ago, and since Valentine's Day is coming up, I thought, well, I would talk about a Valentine's Day that started off bad and like went wrong and then went right. And before we get into this, I just want to say that my husband Alex, like, Valentine's Day does not mean a whole lot to him, but he knows that it means a lot to me, and he has done some absolutely fantastic things for Valentine's Day. One year, I was like complaining like the week before. I was like, I'm so tired. Like, my mom, she was the only person that celebrated Valentine's Day with me as an adult. Most people as adults are so bitter about Valentine's Day. They're like, Valentine's Day is a Hallmark holiday. Yeah, we know that. Like, most holidays are Hallmark holidays at this point, you know? And it's sad that we do it that way, you know? But it is what it is. And my mom would always get so excited about it. And even if I was like, you know, in a relationship, like the day before, the day after, she would always have this very special candlelight dinner where she would have like me and my boyfriend or me and a best friend over, or like 5 or 6 people. And she would have like a Valentine's Day dinner, and it would always, you know, be like some kind of, you know, chocolate and cherry cake for dessert, and like strong different kinds of coffee and candles lit and some kind of special meal. She always did that for Valentine's Day. And then there were always gifts, and there are always, you know, handwritten poems and handmade cards, and she loved Valentine's Day. And so did I. So you can imagine growing up with that Valentine's Day always meant a lot to me, you know. And when I grew up for Valentine's Day, when we were in school, we had the shoe boxes, and we would like cut the hole out, you know, the top, and then decorate them and then put our name on them, and then everybody would like come and, you know, give Valentine's to everybody in the class. And then you would get like the anonymous, you know, one. I got one from Christy Millington back. I still know Christy, so I can put that in the video. But I got an anonymous one from Christy Millington. I have it down in my basement. I should bring that up and show some. I have all of my notes from high school that I used to write with my friends and stuff. That would be truly exposing something about myself to read my notes from my friends and I. But anyway, and then you would have like the cupcake party, and everybody would wear like red turtlenecks because it was cold as hell in Indiana, you know, and you'd wear like a red sweater or something, and everybody would bring it in. And, you know, like the moms that were like the class moms, they would bring in the red cupcakes and the pink cupcakes. Do we do that anymore? I don't think it's like everything has to be gluten-free and sugar-free and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, we've lost our minds a little bit with some of that stuff. And if you take that very, very seriously, do not please come for me in the comment section and say, well, this is I understand that for a lot of people that's a very serious matter. It just makes me sad that we can't just enjoy a simple cupcake party in 3rd grade anymore, you know, with it having to be all this kind of extra stuff. And so I get in these conversations with my husband, and he just shakes his head. He's like, what and what? And I'm like, I miss the days, you know, when Valentine's Day was about the, you know, the shoebox Valentines and the anonymous Valentines and the cupcake parties and all that kind of stuff. And so one year for Valentine's Day, he was at work, and he got a shoebox, and he cut a hole out of it, and he decorated it, and he like printed off all of these Valentines, right? Like from the internet, and some of them were for like Beyonce and Jay-Z and Mariah Carey. They were hilarious. But then he also had like all the people that he works with, all the girls, he had them like make Valentines for me, and he brought me home this Valentine's Day box. And I mean to tell you, like, it was one of the most meaningful things that has ever happened to me in my entire life. If I can find the picture, I will put it up as the thumbnail for this video. But just the extent that he went to, you know, to emotionally make me happy about something. And, you know, like, now I have to say, that was like probably 3 or 4 years ago. Since that happened, like, I don't have this like deep need for this super Valentine's anymore. You know, it was just kind of like at that moment, I was kind of like missing my mom, missing all that, you know, and because she went overboard. And since then, it's like, you know, he like emotionally met me where I was at, and it's like, I don't really need that anymore. You know, if we go out to dinner or we do something special for Valentine's Day or a little romance or whatever, I mean, that's great, right? But like, I don't need tons of that kind of stuff. But what's funny is, I think it was our 2nd Valentine's Day together. I had really, really wanted to do something for Valentine's Day, and I kept on like hinting at it like 3 days before. And he was like, and I think Valentine's Day was like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday because he had to work that day. And at the time that, no, this would have been our 1st year together, because when we got together, not until like the summer of the 1st year that we were together did Alex have a car. We were like a 1-car family at the time because he had been in an accident. And So I would drive him to work in the morning and then pick him up in the afternoon, early evening. And so I didn't think that he had done anything for Valentine's Day, and I got real pouty. I'm sure you can't imagine that with me, right? So anyway, like I said that morning, I was just like, I woke up, there was no card, there was nothing, I was in a really shitty mood, right? And I was like, I cannot believe that he knows I want to do something for Valentine's Day. This is where you don't assume things, okay? Because if you assume things, it makes an ass out of you and me. It made a real ass out of me that day, let me tell you. So we're in the car, and we're like going through Starbucks, and we got in some fight. Now, have you ever had a fight with your significant other where it really isn't about, I mean, this could be with a friend too, but where it really isn't about the issue? It's like, okay, you're pissed because you're not, like, they haven't recognized your birthday, or they haven't recognized, you know, an anniversary or Valentine's Day, and it's really about that, or it's really about the fact that they didn't take the garbage out the night before or feed the dogs or whatever, and so you're lingering on that resentment or that piece of anger, but it carries over into something else, and so you're like, well, I didn't get my coffee the way that I wanted to, but it has absolutely nothing to do with that, right? So Alex and I, honest to God, you know, all these years later, I have no idea what the argument was about in the car. And he was like, why are you in such a shitty mood? And I was like, and I wanted to say, and we've learned to communicate this way now, because today I'd say, well, did you forget about Valentine's Day? And then he would have said, no, not at all. I planned ahead for you. Here, let me show you what I did. But back then, I didn't communicate that way. That's why when we talk about communication and relationships, it's vital, right? And so I said, he goes, what's wrong with you? I go, nothing's wrong with me. What's wrong with you? You know, it was like one of those arguments. And oh, sometimes I wonder. We had a couple that like were very invested us in as a relationship. And they had us over for dinner like our second year, and they're like, if you guys can make it through your first 3 years, you're set. Everything like kind of settles down after that. And because we had so many pointless arguments at the beginning, and now going on 10 years this August, it's like we look back on that and it's like, why did we argue over that stupid shit, right? So anyway, we're in the car, and I got in I said something, and then he said something back, and I said, I go, well, I had all kinds of things planned for Valentine's Day tonight, and I had reservations to a real nice restaurant, all this kind of, I had nothing planned, okay? It was one of those moves, right? And he goes, I made a CD of all of our favorite songs, or all the songs that remind me of you. I go, no, you didn't. He goes, yeah, I did. And he pulls out his bag and he throws it out the window. I go, go get that right now. He goes, no, if you want it, go get it. So I stopped the car. We're in the middle of the street. I stop the car and I go get the CD, right? And then, of course, my entire mood changes because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he made me this CD and I didn't even know about it. Pissed. He was pissed the rest of the way to work. And rightfully so, right? It was totally an ass move on my part. So I drop him off and I'm like, I'm really sorry. And he was like, you should be sorry. Like, that was shitty. Like, you didn't know what I had done, whatever. You were assuming things. I was like, okay. So he goes home, or he goes to work, and I go to work, and I'm thinking about this throughout the day, and I'm like feeling really bad, and I'm going to like, I went to like 3 different florists, and they, of course, it's Valentine's Day, right? What are you going to get, a carnation? So anyway, there was nothing. I'm calling all of these restaurants trying to get some kind of special reservation. There's nothing. Everything is like 11 o'clock at night or like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no reservations, right? I'm like, you know what, Peter? The learning experience from this is shut your mouth, okay? Don't be an asshole. Shut your mouth. So, I mean, and I've learned a lot in life by being an asshole. Honestly, I have. That it doesn't pay off to be an asshole. It doesn't pay off to be rude to people or to be mean. It, you know, it pays to communicate and to be kind. It really does. And so I picked him up from work, and it was like, you know, 6 o'clock in the evening. And he goes, okay, so by that point, things had cooled down through texting. You know, we had like texted out and talked on the phone at lunch, and things had cooled down. And he was like, so should I go home and get ready for this fancy dinner that you're taking me on? And I think he knew, like, I can't remember, he's watching TV upstairs, or I would like yell up there and ask him, but I think that he knew, like, I had planned nothing, right? And he goes, so should I go home and change for this fancy dinner that you're gonna take me on? And I was like, I have to be honest with you. And he was like, about what? And I was like, I didn't schedule anything. There was no fancy. He goes, oh, so you were pissed at me because I didn't do anything special for you when I made this really special CD? He was laughing and stuff. He was like, but then you didn't plan anything. I said, I tried so hard. I tried to get flowers and everything. And I am totally last minute Larry. Like, I am always at the last minute, like, buying stuff, right? We went to so we went to his cousin's. They just moved into a house recently, and I was telling him, I said, my friend Craig back in the day, like when I moved into this apartment, he and his boyfriend brought me this really nice like basket of all this Trader Joe's stuff, like tea and jams and jellies and, you know, crackers and cookies and all this kind of stuff. I said, I always think that we should do that, like for people when they move into houses. He goes, well, why didn't you do that? I go, because I'm just now kind of thinking about it. And that's me. It really is, you know. So anyway, we get home, and I said, go change. We'll figure something out. I will make this date romantic. I'm sorry that I screwed it up. And he was like, it's okay. You know, and so we're driving around. Now, imagine it's 8 o'clock on Valentine's Day, okay? Where do you think you're going to get some, I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing anywhere, literally nothing, right? So at the time, we loved Steak and Shake. Now, if you don't know what Steak and Shake is like a chain it's a chain restaurant, and it's like black and white and red are their colors, and it looks like a 50s diner in the United States. And they have like Frisco melts and patty melts and shakes and fries and stuff like that. Well, it was the only thing that had anything available. And we go in, and it was the sweetest thing I have ever seen. It was all of these older couples that were like in their 70s or 80s that had probably gone to Steak and Shake when they had first started dating. And there were candles on all the tables, and there were like tablecloths and stuff. It was so adorable. And we sat there and we ate, and we both got a bowl of chili and Frisco melts and shakes. And it was like the most perfect Valentine's Day, you know? And I'm such a believer that things turn out the way that they're supposed to. Now, I will say this, okay? I wish I had never been an asshole and we had been sitting at some steakhouse. But that being said, like, I don't remember, honestly, I just don't, 6 or 7 of the other Valentine's days that we've spent together that we probably went to really nice restaurants, or we even went out of town one weekend and went to Louisville and stayed in this fantastic art hotel and all this kind of stuff. But like, I don't really remember the specifics of that weekend in comparison to the night that we spent at Steak and Shake. Just, you know, the two of us in love, you know, talking about our relationship and how far we have come. And, you know, and that to me, I think is like super special when you can have those little moments with each other in a relationship, admit when you're wrong, and move it to the next level. And that's really what a relationship is about. And so for us, it was kind of like the Valentine's Day that went right. It ended up being exactly the way that it was supposed to be. So, you know, that's why in life I try to just trust the journey sometimes. But it's also a learning experience. It's also a learning experience to ask for what you need, and you might find out, you know, we could have completely avoided that whole situation. We wouldn't have ended up at Steak and Shake, but we would have avoided the argument on Valentine's Day. And which one's the greater lesson, I think? You know, I think in retrospect, the greater lesson is that something happened and I learned from it. And I'm thankful for that. So I love you guys. Do you have any exciting Valentine's Day plans? You better start thinking ahead, okay? Because we're only like 3 weeks away. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.